assume you. Okay. Well, welcome everybody to our Fire Adaptive Community Committee meeting here on May the 6th. David Hartson is calling in. Well, David, can you hear me?
Mike,
yeah.
Send the invitation to Linda's email, which is lprcno@gmail.com. Okay.
Elenia, did you get that?
I heard that.
Okay.
Lima, Papa, Romeo, Charlie, November, Oscar, lprcno@gmail.com, and I can pick it up.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
Okay, so I'll be acting as the secretary without Martha. So we'll call this meeting to order. So if you could rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under
God, indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all. Okay, roll call. I am here, Mike. Scott?
Here.
Don?
Here.
Mark?
Present.
Ray?
Here.
David is not on yet. Or is David on? David is not on. Oh, I see a Linda. So David, can you hear?
So now we're going to have Tim O'Meara, our Vice President of Engineering Services and Business Development, give manufacturing update.
I'm not sure I understood all that. Okay, we do have a quorum. Everyone have a copy of the agenda today. Could I have a motion to accept the agenda?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Let me, regarding the agenda, the agenda requires our Fire Adaptive Community Committee ambassador, Lindsay, to report on two things, and Captain Romo to discuss another one on the new business. Neither of those people are here. So regarding that, we either need to change the agenda and add another item, or not have the meeting regarding that. Again, we were going to have a phase 1 DSO inspection status report from Lindsay and her plan for communication of the Defensible Space Ordinance. And then we're going to have Captain Romo talk about establishing a fire-wise community. So that being said, do I have any recommendations for other agenda items, since we cannot cover the agenda as it was presented?
You can't have random agenda items added at the beginning of a meeting. You have to give the public notice. So I think we ought to just convene the meeting.
Okay.
And then end it.
Well, that's what I presumed. I mean, it's not like we're
Manager Weir is here and I think has something to say.
I think Member Manley is correct that you can't add agenda items on the fly. What I would recommend that y'all do, and I thought all of our committees are doing, is having a spot on your agenda for public comment. Because you are allowed to hear from the public without a specific topic. The only thing is you can't respond. You can ask questions, but you can't express an opinion. But when you guys meet, you're allowed to hear from the public their, whatever they want to talk about.
Okay.
Even though, and it not be on the agenda. And again, you can ask them questions about their topic, but you can't give them your opinion, unless it's on the agenda. That said,
We could add that, and hear if there are any, but that would be the extent of the, meeting. Is that what I'm hearing?
well, I think I don't want to have a conversation about it, but I was going to take this opportunity because I'm going to all the committee meetings to inform them of something the village is putting together. We're calling it Village Day. It's the same day as the APO meeting. It's going to be at the hotel and at the lodge. And what we're doing is we're asking each committee to put together a table and have at least one or two representatives there. So after the APO meeting and people go eat lunch, we're gonna rent one of the rooms in the lodge. And so that members of the public can come and ask you questions about what's going on in your committee. What I handed out here was just the original kind of definition that we came up with for this new Village Day that we're initiating this year.
So these details and logistics, this is old, right?
Yeah, a lot of this is old, but I wanted to hand this out because it gives a summary of what the desired outcome is. And
But that should be instead of sort of April evening, that we do have a real date.
yeah, we have a real date now. I'm sorry. So
No, I just want to make sure
I just thought it would be
No,
quicker
the-
for me to.
the rest of the info is we need, so.
Yeah, it's actually the dates, the dates here are not, they've been changed to, what is it, June 21st
So, yeah, I was just checking. So it's Saturday, June 21st.
is gonna be the day.
Is the membership, the AFPO, annual meeting.
Right, so the details and logistics you can ignore, but it's gonna be the 21st and we shouldn't anticipate anybody being in the room until after lunch, because APO's gonna have its meeting.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have a barbecue and then people will be able to go eat lunch and then, come into our room and come to your table and ask questions about what you're doing. And that's all I wanted to really say, but I would recommend in the future that we have a public
Yes.
comment section in the agenda.
On the agenda.
Could we ask you about the meeting at 3:30 this afternoon, the council, work session?
Sure.
There's an item on it on the slash processing. What's the information on that? Or
So we're basically trying to explain a situation we have with commercial, with people that are in the business of removing slash. And get the council to come up with a way to help us resolve the issue of the way slash is being brought into the village from primarily from commercial operators. In summary, the way it's being brought in now transfers a lot of the workload to our staff. It's much different than if a homeowner is bringing in pine needles and trimming their trees up to 5 feet or bringing in branches and things like that. When a commercial guy is bringing it in, basically they're pushing a tree over with a bulldozer and bringing it in, stump and all. And so we need to have direction from the council on how to deal with that.
no? Okay. Very good.
I have a question for Brett.
Yeah,
I'm just curious how the event last Saturday went over, or May 3rd, I'm sorry, down at the grocery store. Was that well attended? It was a lot of,
it was pretty well attended. I mean, there was, I don't know, there was a lot of people there. There were multiple fire departments participated. So, you know, Lindsay really deserves accolades for working with the people that pulled that together. And I think it was very positively received. I do think if we did one similar during peak season, it'd even be better received.
Right, right.
But considering we did it at the slowest part of the year, I thought it was well attended.
Well, good, good. That's good. Good to hear. Thank you.
By the way, Captain Romo just appeared.
Well, then we do have presence for an agenda item or two that he's on the agenda for. So can I, again, there was a motion to accept the agenda and a second. Can I have your vote for that? All approved?
Yes. Hey,
Okay. So Captain Romo, you had two items. An old business item would just be the slash pickup and burning metrics for April, or however you want to describe that process.
Yes, sir. We've started slash pickup delivery to Station 3. I don't have the numbers. I gave you guys that at the last meeting, but that was for April. But it's somewhere in like 2,000 cubic yards that we've received already, and we burned everything in the large pit. So you know, we're on track for slash pickup and burning and all that. So we also had a presentation yesterday, you know, at the Garden Club meeting here in Angel Fire, and kind of went over all our DSO and burning permits and all that stuff. So worked pretty good.
Any other comments or question on that item?
who, you had a thing at the Garden Club. Who was present there?
So myself and New Mexico State Forestry. So I gave the presentation on our DSO and our slash program and the fire program. And they gave one, forestry did, on kind of healthy forest and what a, you know, healthy forest should look like.
Was it well attended? Was there quite a few?
I think there was about 10. It was kind of one of their slower meetings, but you know, I think it was well received, and you know, a lot of people didn't know about the new permits and the DSO and all that, so it worked out pretty good.
Well, good.
Captain Romo, I was hoping, and I know you're linked at the hip with Lindsay on the inspections, but I was hoping to get a status report on, you know, how that inspection status, how many have been done, and is there a plan going forward?
Yeah, I've done about 7 assessments. We've sent about 5 or 6 letters to homeowners insurance, and they're able to maintain their coverage and all that. So that's a great thing that we're doing there. And I think Lindsay's at about 14 assessments at this time.
So how are we gonna get the information out? Because I think that's something that people are gonna wanna know. It's like,
Yes.
do this, get your letter, keep your insurance. And all you see and hear on social media and is just panic, as if nothing can be done, and which is not true, obviously. You just mentioned we've had what, a dozen positive outcomes, right? You know, I think maybe one of the things we ought to consider, you know, the village has its ability to communicate. I think the resort would be more than happy to use, you know, its resources to communicate as well. And one of the things we ought to definitely do, I don't know if you were in the room about after the AFPO membership annual meeting in June, but the village is going to have all of its committees. One of the things that this committee should definitely do is be prepared to talk to folks about, hey, here's what we can do. Your property gets reviewed, you get a letter. This is this is how you submit the letter. And here's the results. So that I think it would put some folks at ease.
Yeah. It will.
And if you guys are having success, we ought to be screaming that from the rooftop, because
Yeah.
people are rightfully, I'm not trying to minimize it at all. It's a problem, but here's at least the first step towards solution.
Yeah.
So let's figure that out.
So me and Brent and Chief were talking about, mail outs, but everything's digital now. So maybe sending something along with their, their bill, their monthly bill and all that, their utility bill. And also Lindsay's going out to presentations and kind of doing
Yeah.
community outreach education, and, the word's getting out. But that was kind of an eye opener yesterday. No one in that garden club, besides, Bill Humbert's wife knew about the program and all that, and what to do and what we could do. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. One other person was in the audience that I wrote a letter for them last year, and they were able to get insurance. So yeah, we are looking at that outreach and how to get the word out.
But you know how it is in this community. People would rather kind of complain from a keyboard than actually, take steps to even help themselves. Let's make it really simple.
Yeah.
Are you worried about your insurance? Here's what you can do.
Yeah.
And just get it out there. Because that's the thing. People get stressed and upset when they don't, when there's a problem, but they don't know what to do about it.
Yes.
And that's kind of the thing, right? You're never really concerned about something when you're prepared for it. It's just being in that state of total unpreparedness and uncertainty that's what causes the people to stress. Not
Exactly.
Mark, could I ask a question regarding this communication? And I had hoped that, of course, Lindsay would have pulled some things together. But what we had talked about was, as you mentioned, AFPO, it's their meeting, and they have an agenda. And is it possible? I mean, I don't know if you send out the announcements on their behalf. That's what I remember from the past. Whether it be email or what. You have a lot more of those email addresses than probably the village does with their water bill. From the standpoint of communication. Would that be something that could come out from you guys regarding?
I think we can send something out. You're correct in that the resort obviously tightly controls its database because we have to. We have spam laws and those kinds of things that we've got to abide by. But because this is information concerning the community and your property, I think I can pretty easily craft a message that works to say, no, this isn't spam. We're not trying to sell you anything. We're trying to provide you information. John Kitts is the one that's going to make the decision as to whether or not we can do that. Hopefully do my job. I can get him comfortable with it. But there is a certain amount of resistance. Now, this is obviously, we all believe this is a good use of the database, but unfortunately it kind of opens the floodgates then. And it's like even in my own company, right? Or folks like, well, you let the fire adaptive committee communicate with all the members. Why can't I?
Yeah.
So I just have to kind of navigate that, Mike, but I will try to do that.
I mean, there's, I guess, two things in my mind. One is just information about the AFPO meeting, that they could obviously get information if they attended, but if they didn't attend, is there a way, again, keeping the identity secret, that they could get information about the DSO? I mean, without, including it as an attachment, that would be the ultimate.
I think little less likely, that's really gonna be a village function. I mean, it is the village ordinance. I can see the resort using the database to educate people about, if they are concerned about their insurance and things like that. It's probably a tougher sell to say, here's the village ordinance and how you comply with it and that kind of thing. But let me try to,
Okay,
at least get the former.
okay. It's what can we do is the whole question, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on then. If no one has any other comments about that topic, that's critical.
I-
The whole,
I have
the
no-
whole
Hang on,
summer
hold on, we got
communication. Go ahead.
Question. When you make an inspection, do you have an inspection form of items?
Yes, sir.
Is that something we could have a copy of?
Yeah, we could do that. Also, if you go onto our website, I think we have it posted there, but I'll email it
You
to the
think it's
group.
on the website?
Yeah, I'll email it to the group just in case. Yeah, because we're having some issues updating the website the other day. So, but yeah, pretty much we have one that entails pretty much everything that's on NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, one of their form 1911. So we kind of mimicked that, made it our own, and we're abiding by the federal.
So when you look
regs on
at
that.
person's property, you have a yes or no? And
Well, there's a point system. You get a point system for your road access into your home, your roadway. You get a point system for, your structure survivability, if it's a fire hardened home or it's not. And then there's actually two, I think we've talked about it before, but there's actually a deduction. If you have like sprinklers, if you have fire resistant paint, you get a reduction on that. So like 10 would be like a moderate risk, all the way to 30 is high. So you would actually, if say you scored a 10, you would get reductions on those factors for being more fire wise, if you will.
that would be.
Yes, sir. And we're giving that to the homeowner to kind of let them know what they could work on and what they need to do to make their property more defensible, their home more defensible. And then we're actually writing a letter to their insurance as well, if they recommend it. And then we're gonna do a certificate, and we're kind of talking last meeting, it's gonna be chief's signature, my signature, and possibly Brett Weir's, the manager signature on there.
Okay.
I got my certificate. I'm not able to send it or print it. So if it was in another format, it's some special format.
Yeah, we'll talk later after the meeting, and then I'll get with Lindsay on that, because she was kind of spearheading the certificate and that. My next kind of topic when we get into that is Firewise, and instead of me having to draw out each individual letter for each homeowner, we're gonna have a blanket letter saying Angel Fire New Mexico is a Firewise community, and you could give that to your insurance. And some insurance have actually asked me about our certificate, if it complies with national, federal, kind of regulation standards and all that, and I said it does. So, it'd be better if we had a Firewise blanket, docket saying we're Firewise, you give that to your homeowner's insurance, so. It's gonna be beneficial in the long run.
So
Okay.
I have one question, Chief, or a side note. Did you break out the champagne last week when you and your crew, when we got 2 feet of wet snow?
The goulash is more like it, but yeah, it was pretty bad. And then we lost power there at Station 3, and it was a muddy mess. So we finally got power to it, and it was.
But you had to celebrate a little bit, as it was setting up to be an awfully dry year.
It's still kind of gonna be hot and dry, but that definitely took the edge off for a little while, and I did some calls around Taos County and Union County, and Union County really got some green up over there with that moisture, so it's gonna really dampen the fire season over there. So, well, yeah, we are excited for that.
Well, good,
Hey,
good.
could we, the agenda item is exactly that, the Firewise. So Captain Romo, I don't know that you have a formal presentation, but
Yeah, I do.
okay,
Ileana
good.
has it on-
That's what we're ready for then.
Yeah, we'll go through it.
Okay.
The only thing is, I don't know if he can see it because I can't share my screen
Oh.
being live. Like these guys can see it. I'll try.
We're gonna try to share for you, guys online. Can you guys see the
Oh,
screen?
Yeah, we can
Yes.
see it remotely.
Yes.
I can.
There you go.
Okay, great.
Maybe if you could expand it there.
I know, is it slideshow?
Yeah, from beginning. And sorry if I'm a little hoarse, I'm getting over a cold. But pretty much the presentation is the National Fire Protection Association Firewise USA program. So this is my proposal to the Village of Angel Fire for what I could do for the community. Next slide, please. So there's a website for the recognition program. And excuse me if you guys have questions and that, we'll leave it to the end. I have a little Q&A at the end. What is Firewise? So the National Firewise USA Recognition Program provides a collaborative framework to help neighbors in a geographic area getting organized, find direction, take action to increase the ignition resistance of their homes and community. So pretty much Angel Fire is already doing this. So I feel that we should get recognized for that efforts and all that. And you know, we should move forward with becoming a Firewise community. Next slide. So of course, Firewise USA is administered by NFPA and sponsored by the USDA Forest Service. So there's all the liability, warranty, and all that. I'll email you guys this. You guys could have this to kind of revert to if you need. Next slide. So every year, devastating wildfires burn across the United States. At the same time, a growing number of people are living where wildfires are a real risk. So while these fires will continue to happen, there are things you could do to protect your home and neighborhood as well as your family safety. So with the Firewise Program USA, they're here to help and help us get started on that. So how to become a Firewise site? So we have to, one, organize it. So we have to create a board committee of volunteers to represent your community. My proposal is just use Fire Adapted, the current committee, and they would govern that. And, you know, with the help from me, Lindsay, and the chief and manager, we're identify a resistant leader who will be the program point of contact. I nominate Mike Overby. The board or committee defines the boundaries of the site and determines the number of individual single family dwellings. Community site, so to be a Firewise community, you have to have 8 dwelling units and a maximum of 2,500. We're in that right now with the amount of homes and everything we have in Angel Fire. Next slide.
So that leadership role comes with 100K annual.
Say again?
No, go on.
Oh, 100K, yeah, we'll talk about that offline. Plan it, so the board or committee will collaborate with their local wildfire experts to do a community wildfire risk assessment. A few months ago, I emailed everyone kind of the assessment I did for Valle Escondido over here in Taos Canyon, and you know, it's kind of going to be the same like that. You know, we're gonna give the Angel Fire kind of how it came to be, you know, kind of an overview of Angel Fire, what we've done, you know, to be fire adapted. And then, you know, I'll put all my kind of findings in there, and then we'll send it off to Mary Stuber at State Forestry. She sends it over to George Decker, which is their Firewise state liaison. And then he sends it to Firewise, and then they give a yay or a nay for, you know, it could be like up to a month. Excuse me. Time frame when they let us know. And then we'll get a, you know, plaque, sign, and all that. We'll do a big unveiling in that. It's going to be great if you guys approve it today. So
Couldn't this be the same wildfire risk assessment that was done here, you know, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or does it need to be a different?
No, that's the CWPP Community Wildfire Protection Plan.
Same thing.
Yeah, it'll be different from that.
It
So-
will be different from that.
It's not
Correct.
the same.
Yeah. So the assessment is a living document and needs to be updated at a minimum, every 5 years. So, I'll help do that. And Mary Stuber is, our Firewise liaison from forestry. If I'm not here to do that, she'll do it. There's always gonna be someone to help, and it's just every 5 years to see if the community is actually taking the steps that they come up with on their action plan, and we'll get into that in a little bit, for what criteria it needs, so. Here's the action plan. So the risk assessment, it's gonna be needed to create a 3-year action plan. And yes, we could take stuff out of the CWPP, some of their action items, and make it our own. That way we're not reinventing the wheel there, but pretty much, what we're gonna do for grants, thinning, prevention, education, all that, we'll put that in the plan. So we'll break it down, by the year, identifies priority actions to reduce ignition risk to homes. And these can include community-wide investments along with suggested homeowner actions, education activities that participants will strive to complete annually or over a period of multiple years. So, when I used to do this for forestry, when I was with them, I was with the Cimarron district for 12 years. I was always kind of looking at other Firewise communities, because we'd come up with like maybe 12,000 hours. You have to have like 1 hour of volunteer time for each dwelling structure. And Ruidoso had like 10 million. So I was like, how the heck are you guys coming up with 10 million hours? So they're actually using the dollar amount from like grants and everything that they're, equipment, that they were getting to make Ruidoso more Firewise. So that's, I'm gonna call NFPA, see if we could still do that, so we could possibly use like the Ames grant, the NMAC grant, some of the grants we've received, that will come into play with those, reporting hours, because there is it's no cost annually, but there is a reporting kind of category for volunteer work. Next slide. So do it. Each year, neighbors complete education and risk, reduction actions identified in the plan. These go towards your site annual reporting efforts. Investing the equivalent of 1 volunteer hour valued at $25.43 per residential dwelling. So here's where I was talking about, where Ruidoso had like 10 million hours, or $10 million an hour, going into that. And that goes to making sure that we're in good standing after we become a Firewise community. Next slide. So here's what the, volunteer form looks like. So, I'll be completing this, Lindsay, everyone who's gonna be part of the Firewise, organization committee. Pretty much your name, community name, Angel Fire, preferred method of contact, hours that you worked for each home, landscaping, goes into the DSO, the 0 to 100 feet from base of dwelling unit, common areas, HOA, miscellaneous, like meetings. We could count this as a Firewise meeting and add that to the form. And some of the other stuff, chipper cost, any other equipment, landscaping, all that. So again, I'll have to talk to NFPA about how we would say, over on Brazos, they have Mike Laverty has $10,000 into the kind of thinning of his home, if we could use that, if he's part of the kind of Firewise, which I'm guessing you can, because it'll be Angel Fire proper in the Firewise community.
Chris, could I ask a question about volunteer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if a homeowner, does this work on their own property, and, they give us the hours that it took them to do that, does that count?
Yeah, again, I'll have to get with NFPA on that, and, hopefully it will, and it has in the past. I've been out of the game for a few years, so I need to get more dialed in with the current, kind of regulations but I'm gonna say yes at the moment, tentative yes. Collaboration with forestry, fire, related experts. So if we bring them in, you know, talk to them about, you know, any kind of consultation, coordination, you know, landscaping, regional coordination, time, mentoring. You know, we do a Firewise event or a day or a week even. We could add that, to our volunteer time. So time spent performing fire risk overviews, at individual homes. So like our, DSO, fire inspection assessment forms would count for that, or, you know, usually take about an hour or two, so we would add that to it. Next slide, education training events, kind of like what Lindsay's doing and, you know, what we participate in with the fire department. That would be part of that. Safety personnel, protective equipment and training. We do a lot of training at Station 3 and Station 1 and 2, pertaining to, you know, WUI, wildland urban interface, and that communication, slash, our heavy equipment, vegetation management training. So maybe we could get the forestry in, you know, or, you know, one of our subject matter experts kind of, do a seminar or something, you know, that would be, counted. Next slide. So expense examples. So we talked about chipper, power equipment, you know, anything we're using or buying or renting. And, again, you know, I'll see if that goes to, you know, each individual homeowner. You know, we could gather all that intel and submit it annually. So what I'm looking at right now, I there's no way we would be denied this Firewise, kind of, recognition program, and we're already doing the work now, so we would really, surpass the required amount for the annual, kind of, cost and all that, volunteer cost. We'll go on to the, next slide. So application process, when the above criteria have been met, the resident leader applies for recognition through Firewise portal. So you have to get access to their portal. They're at portal.firewise.org. And, you know, that's where you can upload your application, the risk assessment that I'm going to provide, and then all your volunteer hours and all that. Describing educational mitigation work in the site. Each year, sites renew their status by reporting their activity. And then please note, individual states can request additional application requirements, which the state doesn't. They go off of you know, the national protocol. What happens next? So again, our state liaisons will provide applications or approve applications, and then they'll send it to NFPA for processing. And there's the website for Firewise to learn more. And any questions?
I have a question, Chris.
Yes, sir.
You know, all these costs, you know, that, you know, or somebody's paying for. Are there ways to get grants, you know, into Angel Fire to help supplement those costs, if you want to call it that, or to help support the out-of-pocket costs or not?
Yeah, like I mentioned, you know, when Ruidoso kind of came up with like their kind of elaborate hour volunteer time, they were doing it because of the grants that they were receiving. They're actually putting that dollar amount towards the volunteer hours. They tend to do that a lot, you know, for training and all that. So, you know, I learned from them on that. So, but like I said, I'll talk to NFPA, the liaison there, and see if that would be still constitute for the volunteer hours or not.
What, is there any downside to this?
I really don't have one. Yeah, it's nothing but beneficial for everyone. We're already doing the work.
Yeah.
Just take a few more steps and do the application, do the assessment. We'll bring in the United States Forest Service, BLM, State Forestry, Moreno Valley, you know, Colfax County, and we'll do a walkthrough, and the fire adaptive folks as well, and Jake Crane, you know, our liaison to the committee, And we'll just go spend the whole day looking at access, looking at roads, looking at structure, survivability. And we're not going off of just one structure, it's the mean. We're going out of all the structures and looking out at their survivability. So I think I mentioned in the past, I got Idlewild certified as a Firewise community. So I mean, there's no way, it's just a slam dunk that we're gonna be approved.
That's not setting the bar too
I
high.
know. And we've talked about it, myself, Chief Vance and Lindsay, on, you know, we're gonna have one sign that's saying we're a Firewise community. Where are we gonna post it? You know, the entrance of Angel Fire by the blinking light on the south side. You know, we've talked about, you know, purchasing more. And then, you know, it even came into the discussion when each person or person's residents go and they do that for their property, that will actually give them a little placard or something, you know, and that way we know that, hey, they're Firewise, they pass the DSO and all that stuff. You know, so we're talking constantly about this, and you know, Chief Vance and Brett thought it was a good stroke for the community, so I'm here to offer that to the committee and possibly do it in the next few weeks or so, and you know, we'll do that.
From the standpoint of the committee as we are meeting now, and there are some not here, obviously, but if we have seen enough to believe that this is a good next step, we could ask for a vote to proceed with a presentation to as a recommendation to the village council. Is that a process?
Yeah, Chief is indicating, yeah, it has to go to council after the approval from the Firewise or Fire Adapted Committee.
Well, I see no, in my opinion, you know, like Scott said, no reason not to move ahead unless somebody else has some.
Yeah, it's not sticking our neck out in any way that we're gonna have to.
No, sir.
Be required to do anything additional over what we've already agreed to do.
No.
And I'm assuming it brings up opportunities for more grants, being that we're a Firewise community.
Yes, sir.
Community that looks good on our resume, you know, going forward for more grants and whatnot. So I think it's an only up, you know, thing to do. So up and up.
Anybody else have a comment about that?
Yeah, I'd like to offer my perspective and my support. Part of the dialogue that I heard early on as a chief and earlier conversations about Firewise was a perception that Firewise meant that we're gonna come in and cut all the trees down in the village. And so I think we've come a long ways since those early conversations of Firewise and have a better understanding of that. We always have referenced Firewise in all the NFPA language that we put out for the DSO. Anything that we would do with a good neighbor policy or anything else has always been in reference to that Firewise language. And so they're in hand, and the work that Captain Romo and Lindsay and everybody has put into this has made sure that we're in alignment with Firewise. What Firewise does is it brings clout it brings teeth to what we've already done. If you're an insurance company and you're evaluating a community, they might look at somebody small like Angel Fire and say, oh, that's cute, you have a defensible space ordinance, but what is that? But when you show that it's in alignment with Firewise and they put a ton of money into the research and the language and it's already kind of done for you, it really gives it teeth when Captain Romo makes a recommendation and an evaluation on a homeowner's property and he sends it has that Firewise label attached to it, show that it's been approved by that, then it really, it's kind of no questions asked. Like Captain Romo said, it's a slam dunk for the insurance company to say, okay, it's just not a few people from the village of Angel Fire thinking they know what's going on. It's been backed up and been approved by Firewise, which is something that is established and been established for a long time and has been tested in other communities And so it really helps us, we're trying to push hard to make sure that we can have insurability for homeowners here in Angel Fire. And I think Firewise helps us get that clout.
Yes, sir.
Conceptually, if we move down this road and get approved and we are one Firewise community, did I hear you say that a critical step would be a signage of some type, saying that we are a Firewise community, like you said, other communities do. But I think if we had that, then a link, a website, something that takes people to what that means and the DSO. Does that make sense?
Yes,
If you
sir.
want more information, this is where you get it type of thing.
We've been making a lot of updates to our website, and so not Firewise specifically, but the DSO is available on our website now. And certainly we would make all that information available on our website. We could even create a page for that, for the Firewise stuff, if that was something that, it's just man hours that we have to dedicate towards that. But that information is pretty readily available.
I mean, that's, to me, eyeballs on what it means. And some people would look it up more than would if we didn't have a sign. So
Assuming certification, is that something that you could include in the letter to insurance companies?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
100%.
Yeah, and like I said, I could still do the letter, but, that has more clout, like Chief was saying, Firewise, we're a Firewise community. Cause most of the insurance companies, they'll call and they'll ask a few questions, but once they see, hey, Firewise,
Yeah,
it's
No,
case closed.
if we give them a hook to hang their hat on, it's
Yep.
much easier.
Yes, sir.
So if that's something that's appropriate to put in
Yeah.
the letters in the future. So now how long will certification take from today?
So I'm guessing if we start, we get it approved next council meeting, maybe a week or two after that, we'll have the kind of community kind of gathering here, and then we'll all rendezvous, go do the assessment. I'll come up with something in a week time frame that really has some good clout to it, and then work with Mary to get it submitted. And from there, I'd say 2 weeks to a month after
Okay.
that.
So now this certification process doesn't put a undue burden on your department, right, Chief? I mean, you're
Correct.
kind of saying we're almost already there.
Yeah, we're already doing
Yeah,
it now.
okay.
The thing, me and Mike had spoke about was it give him a little bit more work, or Martha, in terms of the paperwork and the website and all that, but myself, the chief, and Lindsay could help out with that, and we'll be giving the forms and filling them out as we do assessments, as we do, any kind of Firewise related, duties and that we could give to Mike. That way he has everything submitted annually, get a yay or a nay,
I'd like to under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
I think we conceivably could be Firewise within about 3 months to give Mary time to schedule everything and come up on their schedule or whatever. So within 3 months, I think we could be a Firewise community,
Yeah.
but possibly sooner.
No, I mean, with any luck, with the way we've got the moisture and, right now being about the worst time, 3 years ago now, right? You never know, but I like the way it looks this spring as opposed to three springs ago. So, so this would be maybe not something that's gonna be in place for this fire season. I mean, we're a little late for it.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
to get it in place and then to get, educate the community on how they interact with you all, get their properties assessed, get their letter. At this time next year, we should be in great shape in terms of insurance denials.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that fair?
100%. And I think one thing that Captain Romo was saying also that I want to emphasize is we get a lot more scrutiny. Every insurance company has different criteria. They've all hired their private companies to come out and give a determination of what they require for insurance. When they see Firewise, they kind of back off. They understand it. They know what it is. It's recognizable. they're familiar with the program. If it's just the Village of Angel Fire DSO, they go into greater scrutiny to, well, how do you exactly determine that? And how did you come up with 15 feet opposed to 30 feet and yada, yada,
I mean,
yada.
it almost sounds like it's, it's like, why aren't you certified, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't particularly love LinkedIn and I don't use it, right? But if you're out looking for a job and you're not on it, it's weird.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that's the same thing here. So if we can do this, I think we ought to do it, and if the committee can assist you all in the certification process, I think I don't think anybody's disagreeing, right? We ought to do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
All that said, like to see if one of the members of the committee would like to make a motion that we vote to approve and recommend to the committee that would move ahead with Firewise. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to, for us to approve, the village going ahead with, becoming a Firewise community.
This is Dave Hartson. I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, great. And that's what I'll capture in the minutes, and
This is Councilman Crane. Could I make a comment after that vote?
Sure.
If that's okay. So appreciate the committee looking at this. Thank you all for the comments. Thank you again to Captain Romo and Chief Vance. This is kind of the path we've been on for the last several months. And so I feel very strongly that council is going to get a favorable recommendation from you guys and move forward with it. I want to echo a point that Mr. Manley made earlier. One of the big items that we need to tag on to this, and I know none of us are really in marketing, but we've got to throw some more marketing behind this effort that Captain Romo and Chief Vance are going to embark upon to get us Firewise certified. I think if Captain Romo or Chief Vance can hear me, getting with Director Ralph and seeing if there's some marketing monies that could be brought over potentially to help market this Firewise push, either with local news, in any of the other print marketing that Greg is planning. Can we piggyback off some of those existing marketing efforts to get this idea out there? The work you're doing is great. The change to Firewise is great. We've just got to talk about it more so we can get this adoption and the information out to our residents faster. So if one of you guys will get with Director Ralph and figure out, can we throw some marketing money behind this effort that you're about to embark on? That would be my only ask.
Yeah, we'll get that done.
Let me embellish that comment, because the same, grant that we are in with supporting Lindsay's salary there is money in there. It was in the grant for that out-of-pocket marketing expense. Now, have we defined what we want to do and how much that's going to cost? I don't think she's done that, but that was what I had hoped, that she would be able to come back to us with a recommendation, for the rest of the season.
Yeah, we'll look in it further, and then we'll talk with Lindsay and Mr. Ralph and have something for you guys.
Okay, I believe that concludes the topics on the agenda. So
Thank you guys for your time.
thank you. Officially, the meeting would be over at 9:55. Thank you.
Go.